When Steve Harvey walked past a homeless man sitting on a cold New York City street, he didn't just stop, changed his life forever. What he did next not only stunned the crowd, but taught an unforgettable lesson about kindness and humanity. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more motivational stories that will touch your heart. It was a freezing winter morning in New York City. The streets were bustling as usual, businessmen rushing with coffee in hand, tourists snapping photos of the skyscrapers, and yellow cabs honking at every intersection. Among the chaos, there was a man sitting quietly on a torn piece of cardboard near Times Square. His clothes were tattered, his face showed years of hardship, and his eyes held a sadness that words couldn't describe. His name was James Carter. Once a hard-working man with dreams like anyone else, life had dealt him a cruel hand. A series of tragic events losing his job, the death of his wife, and the struggle to raise a young son had left him homeless and destitute. To make matters worse, his son had been taken into foster care when James could no longer provide for him. Now he sat there every day, hoping for a kind soul to offer him food or spare change. But in a city where people walked fast and minds raced even faster, no one stopped to notice him. James often wondered if it was because of the color of his skin. He had seen others on the streets, people who didn't look like him, receive a helping hand, a warm smile, or at least a moment of acknowledgement. But for James, there were only cold stares, judgmental glances, and whispers that made him feel invisible. On this particular day, James sat shivering in the cold, holding a small sign that read, "I'm hungry. Please help." He watched as people walked by, avoiding eye contact. Some even crossed the street to steer clear of him. A young couple passed, their conversation loud enough for him to hear. "Why doesn't he just get a job?" the man scoffed. "Let's keep walking," the woman replied, pulling him away. James's stomach growled with hunger, and his hope dwindled with each passing minute. He lowered his head, whispering to himself, "Maybe they're right. Maybe I don't deserve kindness." Just as James was about to give up for the day and retreat to the shelter he frequented at night, something extraordinary happened. A tall, well-dressed man in a dark coat stopped in his tracks. James didn't recognize him at first, but there was something familiar about the man's warm smile and confident demeanor. The man crouched down to meet James at eye level and spoke in a kind, gentle voice. "Hey, brother, what's your name?" James hesitated, unsure if this was a joke or genuine kindness. "James Carter." The man extended his hand. "Nice to meet you, James. I'm Steve Harvey." James blinked in shock. Was this really Steve Harvey, the famous comedian and TV host? He had seen him on TV countless times, always making people laugh and spreading positivity. Now, here he was, sitting on the cold sidewalk, talking to him like he was an old friend. Steve looked around, noticing how people were staring but still walking past. "James, how long have you been out here?" "Too long," James replied, his voice cracking. "No one cares. People don't want to help someone like me." Steve's face grew serious. "Let me tell you something, James. Kindness doesn't come from what's on the outside. It comes from the heart. And right now, we're about to show these people what real kindness looks like." Steve stood up and addressed the onlookers who had started to gather, curious about the scene. "Hey, everybody," he called out, his booming voice cutting through the noise of the city. "I see y'all walking by this man like he doesn't exist. Let me ask you something. If you were in his shoes, wouldn't you want someone to stop and help you? Or does the color of his skin make you think he's less deserving?" The crowd grew silent, their faces a mix of guilt and curiosity. Steve continued, "This man is James. He's been through things most of us can't even imagine. And today, I'm not just going to help him. I'm going to remind all of you that kindness doesn't have a color. It's a choice, and we can all choose to be better." Steve pulled out his wallet and handed James several $100 bills. "This is for food, a warm place to stay, and a fresh start," he said. Then he turned to James and added, "But we're not stopping here." He pulled out his phone and made a call. Within minutes, a team arrived with warm clothes, shoes, and food for James. Steve also arranged for James to stay at a nearby hotel for a month while connecting him with resources to find a job and reunite with his son. As James thanked him with tears streaming down his face, Steve hugged him and whispered, "You're not alone, brother. You matter." The crowd, moved by Steve's actions, began to step forward. A woman offered James a blanket. A man handed him a bag of groceries. Others gave money, warm smiles, and words of encouragement. For the first time in years, James felt seen and valued. That day, Steve Harvey didn't just change James's life, he inspired an entire community to look beyond appearances and show compassion. James eventually found a job and, with Steve's help, reunited with his son. He now volunteers at shelters, paying forward the kindness he received. This story is a reminder that everyone deserves kindness, no matter their circumstances or the color of their skin. Let's be the change we want to see in the world. If you found this story inspiring, hit the like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to subscribe for more uplifting content. Together, we can make the world a better place.